Hello. So technically I am squatting. I did not really intend to go about doing this. I am supposed to be in a hotel right now. And if I had known that I was going to be in this house still, I could have gotten saved about $100 on Uber rides today. But I am still here. It is 90 degrees in this house. It is unsufferably humid, and I am here. I definitely did not intend for this move to take this long. My movers did not show up, so I had to move everything myself yesterday. And thank God the neighbor kids helped me move the stuff in a van, and a couple of Good Samaritans showed up at the storage unit to help me unload the van. I collapsed a couple of times. And when I got to the oncologist this morning, I had lost 10 pounds in one day. That is not fat, that's water weight. And I'm severely dehydrated. They gave me a bunch of juice and water and coffee and snacks. They were concerned, as was I. And I was drinking water yesterday. Believe me, I was drinking a lot of water. So, and that isn't even the central thing that I'm concerned about, because I did get my second opinion today. And it was not good news. So I will be starting chemo again. This is going to be gone. So say goodbye to the Yorkshire Terrier patches, because I'm going to be bald again. And the surgeon, and this is the best surgeon for oncology, gynecology in the state of Florida, said the tumors are too big to operate on. He looked through all the records. And he said that they did not respond to chemo last time. So the solution is to give me more chemo. That does not make me feel very good. And that is not encouraging to me. That does not make me think I have much longer on this planet. And I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer almost a year ago. So this is kind of super bad news. And I think it's time to drop a will. It's taken a few hours for that to fully sink in. I really kind of knew what the gravity of it was in the doctor's office. I felt sick to my stomach, and this was not like sick to my stomach from being sick. It was not sick to my stomach from being dehydrated and drinking too much water kind of a thing, anything like that. It was like a really sickening feeling, like that is the worst kind of news and everything. And because that was my second opinion. And so, you know, I'm going to try. But I don't feel good at all. And I really, really don't feel good today. I think a lot of that is overexertion and dehydration. And they really, really gave me a lot of fluids in the doctor's office. But now I'm in the heat again. It is super hot in here. And you know, I never saw myself getting old. I never saw it in my head. And I mean, knowing what I know about how my mother died and seeing what I saw in my father's behavior the last time I saw him, maybe this is a mercy. Because I definitely don't want to go out that way. So maybe this is better. And with what is going on in the country, maybe this is like my great grandmother passing away from heart failure 2 months before the Nazis invaded the Netherlands. She was very worried about what was going on in Poland. She was very worried about it. She called my grandfather up in Indonesia all the time, crying about it. My mother told me about that. My mother knew. So, maybe it's like my great grandmother. Maybe it's a mercy. Like dying in April of 1940 in the Netherlands. It's, the horrors that she was spared by not having to witness what happened, 2 months later in that country. I know the stress of what was going on around her definitely didn't help. And I talked to the Holocaust organization in Tel Aviv 24 years ago, and they let me read her name on Holocaust Memorial Day because the stress killed her. But she didn't have to see her own country get invaded. She wasn't euthanized or anything in an old folks home. She died in her own house. And, her house cleaner found her and arranged for her to be buried and everything, so it was not the horrible way that a lot of people passed away or they didn't peacefully pass away. I'll put it that way. After the country was invaded in 1940. So, I think about what is going on around here, and there's glitter on this bed. I decided I'm going to leave my bed here from the landlord because it fits better in here than the bed that came with the room. That thing's worn out anyway, so it's just too much trouble to dismantle it and everything. I can't do it. There's a handyman that my old roommate was a handyman, so he put it together, and I just don't have the energy to dismantle it. She can have it. It's not worth the effort to me to take it apart. You know, I'd like to keep it. It's a comfortable bed, but it's you know, it's pretty new. It's only a couple of years old. And somebody else can enjoy it. Anyway, I'm just having trouble processing what I receive for news. And if I'm like having trouble like seeing things and stuff, I broke my bifocals last night. That was just kind of the icing on a cake, you know. Everything went wrong yesterday. My movers did not show up. My friend's rabbi booked a hotel room for me and paid for it for a couple nights. And the hotel messed up the reservations, and they were like, "Oh, but we'll need her credit card to for incidentals." They lied. That was not what they wanted. They wanted him to guarantee the reservation, and then they wanted me to pay for it, and that was not what the agreement was. He was paying for it as a clergy member, you know, because, you know, churches and synagogues and mosques pay for things for people because they're charities and stuff. And then, you know, they do that to keep people from being homeless. And then people stay in them. And then I called them to confirm it, you know, and make sure that was the right address and all that. And they were like, "Oh, no, we only took his credit card to confirm the reservation. And you actually need to pay for the room." And I was like, "What?" You know, and they were like, "No, you have to pay for the room, but if you don't show up, we're going to bill his credit card for no show." I was like, that doesn't even make sense. He has to pay for it if I don't show up, but if I do show up, I have to pay for it. That makes no sense, you know. So they offered to cancel it, and then he wouldn't be billed for anything. So I was like, don't bill him. You know, that is absolutely unfair. That none of that makes sense. So you know, and I passed out right after I got the confirmation number. I was so exhausted and sick and everything, and I just collapsed and passed out. And my suitcase was already in the living room and everything. I made it to the bedroom. I was in the middle of talking to my friend that like organized that, and I woke up in the morning, and I had to get ready for my doctor's appointment. So I was so sick when I got in there, and they weighed me, and I was like 10 pounds lighter. I was like, that's not really a good thing. I just lost 10 pounds yesterday, and I don't think that is fat. I think that's water weight. And they started giving me juice boxes and everything. So that, but I don't even, you know, and I have money that's still on hold from the IRS, and I don't know why they're holding it. I've checked the status like 3 times, and they just haven't approved the tax return. It was done by an accountant. There's no reason not to approve it. They just they haven't gotten to it. I need that money. I guess they're hoping I die and then they get to keep my money. And it's evil. And I could use that money to get a hotel room right now, and then I wouldn't be in this 90-degree heat right now. I could use that money to get my car fixed and stuff. There's just like a lot of things I need that money for. And then I find out, basically what's going on and stuff. I have about 3 months to live. And I don't know what I'm eligible for because it's stage 3 cancer. It's not stage 4. Because ovarian cancer only happens to women. So they made a special staging for it that is not stage 4, even though it's metastatic. If testicular cancer was adhered to the abdomen, they would make it stage 4. If testicular cancer spread to the gallbladder, they would say it was stage 4, but ovarian cancer can do all those things in stage 3, so we get nothing. And I get more chemo, so I can be bald and weird looking, and I have to wear false eyelashes to look even halfway normal and be able to blink and not have dirt in my eyes. And I get no benefits, and I get no access to Medicare or anything like that. I get nothing. And I have to work until the day I die. Taking abuse from customers. I can't take pain medication while I'm at work. I can't afford to pay my rent. I get nothing. Right now, I feel like I'm going to die right now. I feel so sick. I get nothing. I'm entitled to nothing. And that is the reality of cancer, is unless you have stage 4, you get nothing. You don't get any kind of benefits for it. I do have a case coordinator through my Aetna, which I'm losing at the end of the year. That doesn't really matter. I probably won't see New Year's. So that doesn't even really matter. I probably won't see Halloween. And I'm just going to spell it out. The kind of BS and crap I've had to deal with. I asked for assistance from my clergy, and I was told I no longer live in the right neighborhood. Why do I not live in the right neighborhood? Because the rent is way too expensive. Why is the rent so expensive? Because here in Florida, people have been flipping houses like crazy. Even though we don't need any more expensive houses here in Florida. We do not need that. Because all the people that work in Florida get paid really crappy wages. Now, when I rented this place, I was getting paid fairly well. But that has changed because they turned my job into an AI job. So now I'm not getting paid really well. They replaced my job with a busy work job so they don't have to pay me unemployment benefits. So I went from being paid a pretty decent wage to less than what somebody at Wendy's makes. it's enough to keep from paying me unemployment benefits. By golly, we've got to keep flipping those houses here in Florida for those rich boomers that want to retire here, because they have AI stock. And watch them start complaining next year because their Medicare is all administered by AI, and they're going to find out AI does not care that their procedure is not covered. AI does not care that their doctor is not in network. AI does not care about any of that stuff. But too late then, because they put all the people like me out of business. And when they try to call me, I'm going to be 6 feet under. But they have their friendly AI agent to deal with. And they're going to be living in their big, expensive, flipped house that has astronomical property taxes on it. And no agent to work with. And they don't know how to use the AI. Because boomers are notoriously inept with technology. And this is not a slur against old people, because the generation that is older than them, the silent generation, was really good with computers. My dad is a whiz with computers. He's a whiz with them. He taught me about computers. He encouraged my siblings and me to learn about computers. He used to take me to the Apple Store when the Apple Store was a nerd, with a couple tables with different things like an Apple IIa and some other little black and white computers and stuff. And it was not the big glitzy fancy store that it is now. I went to the Apple Store when I was like 10 years old. And it was a neat place back then. It was not big and flashy and everything, but it was still neat because it had like 8 computers in it, and you could see it show pictures on the computer screen, and that was amazing technology in 1980. And my dad knew how those computers worked. He used to get magazines about it. So, this was, that's silent generation. Yeah, and they, they're pretty good with that stuff. My mom started learning how to use a computer when she was 70. And her secret left-handedness came out because she would use the mouse with her right hand. Because she was never taught that's not normal to do that. But her left hand, boomers don't know how to use computers. They break them. They don't understand stuff. If it's not like some program they learned back in 1985, they get very confused about it and everything. They do not understand AI slop and things like that. So it's, they're not going to understand that. It's not my problem anymore, actually. I thought it would be a good idea to do that. It's FAFO, with everything, replace their own people that help them with some technology they don't understand to save a few bucks. And, you get what you deserve on that. And, but, your mutual fund goes up a few dollars. You don't realize the human cost of that is that all those people that were there for you when you needed a human being to talk to, they're gone. They got put out of business. That's the cost of that. All those people that were there for you to give you personal assistance, they got put out of business. They lost their homes and everything. They lost their savings, and they are no longer there. That's what happens. They go into other lines of work. Not my problem anymore. So I wanted to write a book. I have an idea for a story. I started on it. I don't know if I have time to do it. I wonder about things. I've heard about things like astrology and stuff. People talk about your natal chart. So I ran mine. Somebody pulled my natal chart. Oh gosh, it was like 10 years ago. And she did tell me some weird stuff about myself that I had not discussed with her. And that kind of spooked me a little bit. And it was not like this stupid stuff that you read in a newspaper. It was like super personal stuff that she knew. She told me that I had epilepsy. I had not told her that. And she told me some personal stuff about my dating life, and I had not shared that with her. And, there's other things that, so, and I have my own theory about it. I think it has more to do with the geomagnetism, that where you are located when you're born. Maybe it affects your, because the Earth has geomagnetic fields and stuff. So maybe that affects what happens to you when you're born or something, and we don't really understand how that affects. Like if you stick a newborn in an MRI, it could harm them. You don't stick babies in MRIs if they don't need one. It's not really the safest thing in it to do. It's not dangerous. I'm not a doctor, but you're not going to put a newborn in an MRI over and over again. It's probably not safe to do that. So that kind of a thing, it could probably affect someone, and that I think is a principle that it works on, and we don't really understand how that impacts it. Personality. They know that the amount of sunlight that a baby gets when they're newborn does impact that personality a little bit. It's if you're born in the summer, you're more likely to have a seasonal affect disorder, and if you're born in the winter, you're more likely to have schizophrenia. So there's, they have that's scientific. That's not woo woo. So there are certain aspects of it that have been proven, so for what that's worth. So, so I ran mine, and I used ChatGPT. One thing that it did was it said that there was a mistake when the professional astrologer ran my star chart and said there was a time zone difference because of the daylight savings time, and that was not taken into account. I was like, that's interesting, you know. So anyway, so I was like, I want to know how I'm going to die. Because that's what you really want to know, and that's what they never tell you, and they supposedly know. And it did pick up, and I was like, what do you see in my health issues and stuff? And it did pick up reproductive health, and I told that thing nothing about my health. So I was like, what do you see on that and everything, you know? And it was like there's an issue with your reproductive health. I was really, tell me more about this. And it was like, I don't want to disclose that, blah 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 blah. I was like, I would like to know what that is. Do not spare my feelings, blah 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 blah. So, am I going to die from this? And you know. And the nice thing about using AI is that it has no ethics. So it said that it was not, that was not the method of death. So I don't know, maybe I'd survive this. According to astrology, which is a bunch of BS, but and then so the when I asked it more questions, and it said that I end up dying in some kind of an impulsive accident. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Like some kind of hiking accident or something. I'm not into hiking. I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. So, who knows? Maybe I die from doing this. I'm moving by myself. So that's astrology, and it had like ley lines. Ley lines are interesting. According to the ley lines, I'm supposed to live in like South America or something. I don't like hot weather. I definitely don't like it when I'm sitting here sweltering to death in here. I do not like hot weather. So, but anyway, I have to go through chemo again. And this prognosis does not sound good. It does not sound like my tumors are responding to chemo. And it does not sound like it's treatable. It sounds like I'm going to die, and soon. That's what it sounds like to me. I really, really don't want to be here in Florida when I die, to be honest. but I do have good life insurance. Well, health insurance too. I have good health insurance and good life insurance. So I'm trying to get a hold of my cousin so I can let him know what's going on. Because I need somebody to check in on me, and I needed to kind of let him know what's going on with this. So my phone is running out of time on here, recording time, so I need to get this uploaded. So, enjoy the little bit of hair that I have, because I guess it's going to fall out again. I really feel awful right now, and this hot weather is not helping, and neither are all the lights being on in this room. I was hoping to get a couple more hours of work in while I'm still here, because my stuff is almost completely packed up. I could not get the van because I got back here too late. I was going to get it packed up and into storage tonight, but that did not happen because I didn't get out of the doctor's office until like 4 o'clock, so did not get the van, so I had to change the reservation to tomorrow morning. And so I was lucky they let me do that. And I gotta move the car out of here. Really should be doing that now, but I just feel so horribly sick and everything. I feel like I'm gonna collapse. I don't know. I might not wake up in the morning, and I'm not even joking. So have a good night. I'm gonna get this uploaded.